Have you ever gone to bed only to replay a conversation from days ago, word for word, like it's some kind of mental movie? Have you caught your mind looping that text you shouldn't have sent? Or the moment you froze mid-sentence, again and again and again? If so, you're not broken, you're wired. Today, we're diving into the psychology of people who replay conversations long after they end. Not just social awkwardness, not just insecurity, but the hidden mental mechanisms that keep our minds stuck on what was said or not said. Let's decode it. The brain's emotional draft mode, why we rehearse social events. Ever notice how an email can be reread 10 times before sending, but in your head, you've already replayed the scenario 100 times? That's because your brain treats social interactions like high-stakes memories. We have something called the social self-monitoring system, a neural network linked to emotional evaluation, memory, and future prediction. When we interact with others, especially when stakes feel high, the brain goes into what psychologists call emotional draft mode. This means your mind keeps rerunning the conversation like a draft, looking for mistakes, better replies, emotional clues you missed, hidden judgments, even if those judgments never existed. In this mode, your brain is trying to optimize future social success. It thinks it's helping you, but here's the catch. It doesn't know when to stop, so you stay in the loop long after the conversation ends. The moment feels familiar to many because we're wired to learn from social mistakes. But your brain doesn't know the difference between useful reflection and useless rumination, emotional intelligence versus emotional rumination. Some people have high emotional intelligence, the ability to recognize and regulate emotions, and they still replay conversations. Why? Because it's not always about emotional intelligence. Sometimes, your brain gets stuck in emotional rumination, a loop between the prefrontal cortex, thinking, and the amygdala. Here's how it feels. You think about a moment, and it triggers emotion. That emotion increases attention. Increased attention brings up more thoughts. More thoughts bring out more emotion. It becomes a cycle, not a memory review. This isn't just overthinking. This is emotion-driven memory looping a pattern where the brain rewards itself with emotional intensity. Some people crave emotional intensity, and when your brain hits emotional tension, you keep returning to it. Think about it like this. Your mind isn't saying, I care too much. It's saying, this moment still matters, even if it doesn't. The need for closure, why loose ends haunt us. Ever hear the phrase, unfinished business feels heavier than finished business? That's not poetic fluff. It's backed by psychology. You see, humans hate uncertainty. We have a mental bias called the need for closure, a drive to have clear answers and definite endings. When a conversation feels unresolved, or when you feel misunderstood, your brain labels it as times incomplete. This triggers psychological discomfort, and our minds don't like discomfort. So we replay the conversation like a scratched record because we're trying to find closure. Here's the trick you might not realize. The brain thinks replaying equals solving, but in reality, most internal replays don't lead to solutions, just more loops. Attachment styles? The relationship link? There's a psychological model called attachment theory, originally developed to explain early childhood bonds. But here's the part most people don't know. Your attachment style influences how you process conversations as an adult. There are 4 main styles: secure body, anxious fro, avoidant, disorganized. People with anxious attachment often replay conversations because they're hyper-tuned to social approval and rejection. They constantly ask, did I say the right thing? Did they like me? Did they judge me? Every social interaction becomes a test in their mind. The result? Thought loops that plug into emotional fear. Meanwhile, people with avoidant attachment don't replay as much. Why? Because they detach emotionally, which reduces internal replay, even if it's not always healthy. So whether you replay conversations a lot or not at all can be connected to how you learn to connect emotionally early in life. Negative bias. Why our brains? Remember, criticism over praise. Here's something important. The brain isn't neutral. It has a built-in negativity bias. That means we remember criticism more than praise. We replay awkward moments more than smooth ones. We remember the uncomfortable over the comfortable. Why? Evolution. Our ancestors who remembered danger survived. Your brain is still running those ancient survival programs. So when you replay a moment where you felt embarrassed, judged, or unsure, your brain tags it as important information. But here's the subtle trap. Your brain thinks it's protecting you. It's actually just repeating old patterns. So you replay that awkward joke, that flat response, that moment you said, not because it was critical, but because your brain is hardwired to fix negative moments, even if they don't deserve that much mental real estate. Predictive processing your brain as a prediction machine. Modern neuroscience suggests that the brain is a prediction engine. Instead of passively recording events, the brain actively predicts what will happen next. When a conversation doesn't match your predictions, you experience surprise, cognitive dissonance, emotional tension. Your brain doesn't like unpredicted outcomes, so it keeps replaying the conversation, trying to fit it into a pattern that makes sense. This is called predictive processing. Your brain is essentially asking, what should have happened here? Why? Because your brain hates uncertainty and wants future safety. But this prediction engine doesn't always know when to shut off, so it grinds on the same scene until it finds or thinks it finds meaning. That's why you can replay something 50 times and never feel satisfied. Because the brain isn't trying to remember, it's trying to predict self-identity and social meaning. Here's a deeper layer. Every conversation we have impacts our self-image. Your brain is constantly asking, does this moment define me? Or challenge who I think I am? So when a conversation triggers shame, embarrassment, rejection, or even uncertainty about who you are, your brain holds on to it because it's not just reviewing an interaction, it's reviewing your identity. The mind turns simple moments into personal meaning. You're not just replaying the words, you're replaying what the words say about you. And that's why it feels so intense. Because it's no longer a conversation, it's a psychological assessment. Cognitive load and memory integration. Here's a final piece most people overlook. The brain needs to integrate memories to process them fully. When a conversation triggers strong emotion or confusion, the memory fails to integrate smoothly. This means your brain never closes the file. Instead, it keeps it open in the background, quietly looping. This is why sleep doesn't stop the replay. Time doesn't always heal it, and distraction sometimes makes it louder. Your brain literally hasn't filed it away as a completed memory. So each time you think about it, it feels fresh, like a mental notification that never gets dismissed. And that's not just thought. That's unfinished neural activity, which is why breakups, social betrayals, and unresolved conflicts stick the longest. Because the brain never got the message that the story ended. Thanks for watching. So what's the takeaway? If you're someone who replays conversations long after they've ended, you're not alone. You're not dramatic. You're not too emotional. You're wired with a brain designed to predict outcomes. Learn from social interactions, seek emotional closure, and protect your self-image. But sometimes, that system overshoots. It keeps going, and that's when replay becomes rumination. Here's a simple way to reframe what's happening inside you. Your mind isn't haunted by the conversation, it's haunted by meaning. It's trying to solve a puzzle, even when the puzzle doesn't need solving. If you can remember that, you reclaim control. You can see what's useful to reflect on and what's just noise. Because not every conversation needs a sequel. Not every word needs analysis. Not every pause needs meaning. Your brain wants coherence, but you get to choose peace. And that's the real psychology behind this pattern. You don't have to stop thinking. You just have to start understanding why you keep thinking. Before we wrap up, here's something important. If this resonates with you, you're not overthinking too much. You're processing complex social and emotional data in a world that didn't come with a manual. And now you have one. If you want more videos that decode the hidden patterns of the mind, the psychology you feel, but never understood, subscribe and join the journey. Because you deserve clarity, not just replay. See you in the next one.